Good evening, everyone. I'd like to call the March meeting of the Permanent Building Committee to order. I see Mr. McCaffrey. He is now sideways. He's
Now he's lost his sound. You're muted, Jim.
Oh.
There you go.
Apparently you can close the little white light here. I didn't realize that. Oh, well.
All right.
You know you're sideways, do you?
I do know that.
Okay.
All right. Well, let's get started. I do want, when we get through with the DPW, we do have, I think, a short meeting to discuss where we go with the Lansing Millis architectural study, and I want to hit that in a timely fashion. So let's start with Robert. Give us a rundown of construction update and where we are with the 2-week look ahead and how things are going from your point of view.
Yes, thanks. The work underway at the site right now involves some underground plumbing, and it has, in combination with the weather, put off the interior slabs, which they were hoping to place. That work is probably going to be put off until first thing next week. Concrete slabs are more particularly subject to cold weather issues. Cold weather can cause spalling, which would be quite evident when you pull off all the insulation and everything. So it's best just to wait for the temperatures to rise a little bit. And that will put off the framing, which was expected to start next week, which is really when you see the building getting out of the ground, when you start seeing vertical walls, and it seems like you've been waiting forever for this to happen. Well, we're going to have to wait a few more days, which is unfortunate, but I think all in, not really a big setback, and for the better interests of the project, that we wait for the temperatures to pick up a little bit.
So Robert,
Yep.
Is that comment specific to the staff building or for the vehicle building as well?
Both.
Both.
Yeah, I should, if I could share a screen. Kimberly, can I do that?
Yes, you should be able to.
All right, let's make sure I get the right thing up on the screen. Let's see, share screen. Do you see no? Do you see a
2-week look ahead?
There we go. Okay, good. I can't see what you see, so it's not clear to me.
Well, all we have is the taskbar at the top of the page now.
That's all you see?
Yeah.
How about that? Is that better?
No.
It's the same view of the taskbar.
Kim, is the window size down for the screen share?
No, I don't think so. When he first started sharing, we were able to see more of it.
Yeah.
I'm not sure.
Huh.
Or down to just a white line.
Oh, okay. I got it. I know what happened. Let's try that again, or a new share, maybe.
Hey.
There we go.
Sorry.
There we go.
I had multiple things open on my screen, and so it just selected the wrong one. So this is the most recent 2-week look ahead as of really the beginning of this week. The green line here, where the cursor is, indicates where we were last Thursday morning. And so work that's underway: underground plumbing, radon venting, And let's see if I can get this thing to scroll forward. Anyway, they were hoping, here we are, next week, slab placement, and then wood framing in the week to follow on March 21st. Well, slab placement happening this week because this is the current week. Here we go. That's our current week. And as I was saying, the slabs are not getting finished in this red box. They're going to slip over into next week, and that's going to push off wood framing there and push off steel framing here on the vehicle building. But it's just a few days. And if you consider the overall picture, let's see if I can get that up. Conrad's much faster at this stuff than I am when we do the Tuesday meetings. Let me move some things out of the way. Too many open windows. Bear with me, sorry about this. No, that's this agenda. Well, I'll try to, here we go. Do you see that?
No,
No.
we're still seeing the look at, the 2-week schedule.
Okay.
Well, I guess the overall question I have, Robert,
Here we
is,
go. How's that?
Oh,
You see
yep.
that? Okay.
Yeah, now we see the schedule.
Yeah. So, you know, with the completion back down here in October, losing a few days here in March, it's not a big deal. Well, there's lots of chance to make it up, and the wood framing of the walls, the steel framing of the vehicle building, that will take in itself several weeks. And when we get that complete, we can start then getting some enclosure and start doing interior systems, construction of interior systems. So all in, I'd say construction is going well. We got through winter. We're getting into good weather in spring. It's just a few days away, and I think things will start happening quickly, and it'll be a lot more interesting around the construction side.
And what about my kind of pet question? What about the retaining wall into the wetlands area?
That's over here on the schedule.
That should be under site work.
It's right there, in that
Yep.
red box. So we're pushing that off until later
May.
April,
Okay.
May. It is not really in the critical path of things. Nothing much depends upon that, except perhaps for paving around it.
Well, I guess my question is, that could, you know, if you've lived here long enough, you know that could be a particularly wet time of year. I think our bales and our containment area may need to be refreshed.
Mhm.
If that's not in place, then I think we certainly need to be prepared for a wet season and protection of that wetland from the construction.
Okay. We'll talk about that on Thursday morning.
Okay.
Yeah. I'm sorry. I'm just taking a couple notes here. Don't remember. Good point.
All right. Anything else from the committee about where we stand and how things are progressing? I know, John, you've been to the site. I've seen you out there. Has anybody else had a chance to visit the site?
Yeah, I did
Good.
last Wednesday.
What'd you
I
think, Diane?
stopped by over the weekend and saw the stuff all covered.
Good, good.
Yeah, I mean, look, my first thought was, geez, this is tight. And it is.
Mhm.
Yeah, it is.
Yep. We have some colors.
Yep, I wanted to run this past you. Last Thursday morning, we looked at some color options, and this has been a something we've been waiting for from Kingspan. They are really a key schedule component. They have told Cardozi that they won't do shop drawings until we pick colors. So we've gotten busy to select colors. Now that we know it's Kingspan and not another set of colors. And so there are, this is our proposal basically for the colors on the building. There are 2 exterior sheet metal colors on the wall. There's a color for windows to pick and a color for the metal flashing around the roof edge. And the color options from Kingspan were not fantastic. There were lots of blues and grays and greens. Going back to this, we were interested in, and the drawings all convey this, one color area in the entry under the overhang.
Robert, we're looking at the standard color chart. That's it. And not all of it.
Oh, okay.
So I think it would help to see the drawings and the
Yeah, that's what I thought.
other
I was trying.
colors.
Let's try this. Do you
Ah,
see that
that's
drawing?
it. Yep.
Yep.
Okay, sorry. So as I was saying, there are 4 metal colors on the building. One is at the edge of the roof, the flashing around the edge of the roof, and that's a Firestone sheet metal coil stock. The Kingspan wall panels come in a variety of colors. This is the possibilities here, going from blues through a couple of reds and greens and a lot of grays and taupes. And what we are recommending is that both buildings be generally kind of silver gray in color with a white accent area. And on the vehicle maintenance building, that would be in the area under the overhang along the entry walkway, kind of signaling this is where the entrance is, this is how you get in. And a little brighter in tone in that area. And then the windows would be aluminum, white aluminum. That's the 4th color.
Can you show that illustration, Robert? We're still looking at the staff building.
Yes. There we go.
Yeah.
Whoops.
That's good.
So that is the same colors applied to the vehicle maintenance building, where the body of the building is in a kind of silver gray. The upper part of the building, which corresponds to the daylighting panel, the cowl wall daylighting panels, is in bone white, which is the same color that we can pick for the metal components of the cowl wall. And then trimming around the openings would be gray. That's the same as the gray around the roof, slate gray. And what those colors look like in sample size, these are just scanned samples, which, what Wayne sees on his monitor will be slightly different from what Diane is looking at on her monitor, just because of the color settings of your monitor. But in a virtual meeting, this is about as close as we can get. These are laying the actual samples on our scanner and scanning them in. So it's a darker color around the roof, and then these 2 colors on the body of the building.
Yeah.
And
So have we picked these colors, Robert?
yeah, we did last Thursday when you were away. We waited for you to go away so we could do that.
That's that was by design. So the color selection, the town can certainly have their opinion as they drive by. And I will not have been a part of that decision. So that was by design.
Yeah, but we'll tell everyone you did.
Oh, good. Thank
Oh,
you.
good.
Well, the site has never looked better. Jim, you run a beautiful department down there. I particularly love the trees and the landscaping. So nice job.
Yeah, yeah. Let's see if we can get it there.
Now,
What
I
we
Jim,
don't
were,
know, Wayne, I don't know what the problem is. Now that we have that nice picture of, what is it, Clocko Green there that we're painting the thing? I mean,
Mhm.
okay.
There you go. Mhm.
so, what we were trying to do here is make some handsome buildings using available colors at no additional cost. And
Right.
get something that's, one step up from a barn. It's not going to be a contender for, best, most beautiful building of the world award next year, but not bad for DPW.
There you go.
Yeah.
Well, I think it looks fine. It serves the purpose. I learned to trust architects and their selection of colors and materials, and I also rely heavily on Diane for this aspect. So I'm good with these, and it sounds like you've already placed the order. Any other comments from the rest of the committee?
I think it's a great color selection because we can match the other, the existing building, we can match because we plan on doing something with that, in-house, just to make sure they all match together.
Good.
I don't know whether this is possible, but it would be a nice touch, to have the seal of the town of Millis on the office building and the new one,
Oh,
Like,
gosh, yes.
right between the bays there.
We will. No, we will. That's definitely acceptable, and I would expect that, absolutely.
Yeah, I just wouldn't ask Cardozi or
No.
Kingspan to do that work. We should,
Right.
Wayne,
Yeah,
did
and-
we have an extra left over from the school? Or am I just remembering that wrong?
I don't think so. If we had an extra, it might have been from the police station, but I'm not sure that that's the case. I
Okay.
also looked, Jim, the existing sign over the existing building looks a little beat up. Maybe
Yep.
if at the end, if we've got a few bucks, we can invest in a new sign, a town seal, and give it a little more finish.
Great, thank you. Yep.
So that's the news from where we are in terms of submittals.
Right.
That was the main point of generating these, was so that we could feel confident that the color selection was correct
Okay.
before recommending that. We're good on RFIs. Things are actually all in, moving along very smoothly. We like working with Cardozi. Nick is really doing a great job of managing the flow of information and the flow of decisions, and keeping everybody kind of in tune with and playing together nicely. So it's going well.
Yep. That's my feeling as well, Robert. I think the team all is marching towards the same goal. There's doesn't seem to be any infighting or one-upsmanship. I think everybody seems to be professional and working together, and I think it's so far so good. So I'm
Yeah.
very pleased.
I'm pleased to hear that. I'll convey
In
that
fact,
to.
we had an issue. I called Nick this morning. I intended to relate to everybody on the call tonight. We have an issue with the payment of building inspection fees. And the town doesn't have the ability to collect the fees directly from the subcontractors. So Mike Giampetro, the building inspector, sent out an email last night. A number of people responded to it, resulting in a process or two processes, one internal to the town and one external to the working group, this group. The building inspector is going to have in the weekly payroll submissions include the permits for this project. They'll be reviewed by me, and I will review them according to the slips that they've submitted to Dave. Dave, when the plumbing and electrical inspectors are there, they should be signing a slip. They have a small form that they fill out. They should leave a copy with you, and I would assume that they bring a copy back to confirm their time. I'll be able to approve those like I do for Kim Borst's salary. And then at the end, and the reason why I called Nick Jensen this morning was we made it clear when we bid this project that the overall permitting application fee was waived, but not the fee for the inspection, the $40 inspection fee for the actual plumbing and wiring inspectors. So they own that. They're responsible for it. And so what Nick and he agreed was that we would keep an accounting of what we had paid. And once we got our final finish inspections for plumbing and electrical, we would advise him of that amount and have him issue a credit change order for that amount and reduce the overall cost of the project. So Robert, I don't know if you want to, if there's a need to memorialize it, I can certainly write a memo to the group. I don't know if you put it in Procore somewhere, or if you make note of it in any particular fashion, but that's how we'd like to handle this little detail.
Yeah, I think since it's fresh in your mind, it would be nice if you would send a memo of some kind, and we can then at the closeout of this project, when we see that credit, we'll have a nice detailed note about how this is to be handled.
I'll send something out to the working group in the morning.
Great, and then we'll somehow get it into the change order process.
Good.
Yeah,
Wayne, what do we want to do with the slips the inspectors leave once they've done an inspection?
We just hold on to them. I'm not sure. Dave, do you have a file? I know you're keeping slips for extra work like the unsuitable materials, extra work that we've had for the change orders that we've approved. How are you keeping that documentation?
I have them in a folder in the office. Do not have the electrical inspection permit. I don't know if she gave John a receipt. He was there for that one. I was at a water issue during that. But I will ask him tomorrow. I just wrote it down and I'll see if she gave him a slip.
Okay, great. Was there an electrical inspection today?
And there was one electrical inspection was last week.
Oh, okay, because the note that I got from Giampetro was that no electrical permit had been pulled. And I was surprised to hear that. So I guess I'm I'm pleased to hear that we, if we have inspections, there must be a permit somewhere.
Yes, I'll check
Yeah,
with him on that
definitely
too, but I know she's the permit for that.
Yeah.
Plumbing is the inspecting tomorrow.
tomorrow.
Oh, wait. Oh. I don't know where I went.
Rich?
Yeah, sorry, for some reason I clicked something. If Dave has the ability to scan, it wouldn't be a bad idea to scan those things and send them so that Robert could put them in his folder and it could be saved just in case, you know,
Yeah.
the file cabinet gets wet or something like that. We always try to have, you know, two pieces of form saved, you know, so a paper copy and then electronic.
I agree with that. Yeah.
I do not have a scanner, but I will see if I'll bring them up to the office, and I'm sure Marie or Dee can scan them for me.
Take a picture with your phone.
So what happens every day? Dave does a log of what happens every day. He turns it in and we keep it up at the office. Marie's been, you know, we keep the original written report and Marie's been logging, typing them up. So we have a report from every day that, you know, Dave's inspection report. So we do have a running log of what has been done just to keep it. So we can attach it to that, you know, like Diane said, he can take a picture and we can attach it to that report.
Good.
And send it that way.
Good. And the answer to what you do with it is you hold on to it,
Yep,
Jim, and
yep.
with the hope that we never need it.
Need
But
it, right.
it's the running log of, you know, that very granular detail, so that if we ever need to go back and refer to it, you know, we've got a record that we can go back to.
Yeah, that's just like when what was it, the Union Hall called from Boston last week. I emailed you that, and now I'm getting all the certified payrolls because I think they got a little nervous. But we're up to date with all that stuff since last
Good.
week.
That's great.
Good. All right. Anything else on construction as it stands in the 2-week look ahead?
No, I don't have anything more unless anyone has questions.
Okay. Then let's move on. We have some bills to pay, don't we?
I
We
think
need to
first,
approve the change order, right?
yeah, first we need to do a change order.
Oh, that's right. That's right. So we have the unsuitable materials. Is that?
Yep. Kim, do you have that on your screen or?
I don't. Let me see if I could find it.
No, I have it. I have it on my, let's see. Do you all see that?
Yep.
Proposed
Yep.
change order number 1. So this is a proposed change order that incorporates 2 PCOs. The total value is $28,300. And you can see the math up here. The first is from $2,300, which is for the hammer and remove of the boulder at the vehicle building. And the second one is for unsuitable materials. So we're gonna, here we go. Whoa, here we go. This is the first one. Hammer and remove of boulder and ledge cost $4,600 based on the unit pricing of 20 cubic yards at 230 cubic yards, $230 per cubic yard, sorry. The base bid assumed that there would be 10 yards. So the delta is $2,300 for removal of that boulder. This has been discussed several times in the weekly job meetings, and this is not news. This is just kind of going through the accounting.
Okay,
PCO,
but let's just stop for a minute there, because I think there's an important part here. Go back to that other there. this has not been marked up. I don't see any general condition cost, increase. I don't see anything for bonding, the normal markups that we would see a GC. He's just passing on the direct $2,300 cost. Is that how you see it, Robert?
That is correct. The form has those numbers built into it,
Right.
but the dollars at the end you see are zero. No
And
markups.
And I think the point here is, and certainly based on my experience with the Clyde Brown School, the GC would have an argument to make to add overhead and profit and bonding costs. And they've chosen not to do it here. And so, again, I think that goes to, it's minimal dollars in this case, but it goes to, I think, Cardozzi's approach to the project. And I think that's terrific.
Yep, I agree with that. Yeah, I mean, there would not be labor markups because there isn't really labor here. It's a
No, but
cubic
those
yards.
ones, the ones right at the bottom.
Right down here, yeah.
Right. I think they certainly could have made a case for overhead and profit and bonding.
Yeah.
On that amount, and they elected not to.
Yeah, good point. And it's very telling of Cardozzi's overall approach. They're really playing nice. They're not adversarial in the least. Okay, so that's this is the second part of this change order we are considering. And this is for the need to bring in to get rid of unsuitable materials, and there will be a follow-on for import of unsuitable materials. But the base bid, you can see here up at the top line, assume there would be 100 cubic yards of this stuff. That, and by unsuitable materials, we mean organics that really can't be left in the area where the foundations are being placed, need to be pulled out from the site. The actual quantities were here. You can see on 4 days in a row, or 4 sequential dates, 240, 260, 40, and 80 times the base, the bid cubic yard cost of $50 per cubic yard, results in an overall change of $26,000. And again, to Jim's point, to Wayne's point, there are no markups down here in the lower right-hand corner.
Let me just stop you right there, Robert. I think Rich had a question about the quantities. Dave,
Yep.
do you have slips on these on the truckloads of these materials?
Yep, I have daily slips and the piles kept separate in case anybody has any doubts.
Yeah, that's fine. As long as usually as long as you get slips from the trucks, that's all.
And this material was kept on site, is that so?
It's brought to the tree farm. The unsuitables were brought to the tree farm.
So the cost that we're looking here is the cost is this the cost to replace or to remove unsuitable materials?
This is the cost to remove unsuitable materials.
Okay.
Here's the detail slips.
And Dave approved each one of these as they were incurred on a daily basis, correct?
Yes, yes,
Is that your signature, Dave?
yes, it is.
Looks like a Nike swoosh.
Does.
Yeah,
Well-
auditors came and questioned me on that the other day.
Well, it's important because I think getting our process down is key. And so Dave, you're hawking all of these details is very important. And in the past, the town has had the ability to have a outside OPM on a project and do all this work for us. So we're, cobbling together a process on our own, and I think it's working very well. So this is the kind of comfort level that we need in order to make decisions about, where we spend money. And so I think it's working extremely well from what I've seen.
Thank
So
you. Thank you.
And Wayne, to follow up on that, I mean, the thing with getting the slips on that is if there's ever a question later on, if it comes up on Millis Public Forum, we have slips to prove that, these really were dragged out, and here's the slips right here which prove it.
Millis Public Forum may be a forum for discussing these kinds of things. They won't be doing it with me, I'll tell you that. All right. So I would entertain a motion to approve change order number 1 in the amount of $28,300. Anybody comfortable in making that motion?
I make a motion to approve change order number 1 in the amount of $28,300. Who approves that? Is that us or no? Select board?
No, it's us.
Us, okay. Do I have a second?
Second.
Been moved and seconded. Any additional discussion? All right, John Larkin,
Yes, aye.
Diane Germain,
Aye.
Rich Nichols,
Aye.
Wayne Clocko votes aye. Motion carries unanimously. What is next?
We can now move to the invoice from Cardozi, which incorporates this change order.
Good.
Oh, right, okay. Sorry.
Kim, do you want to do that?
Yeah, I'll stop. You're all set, right, with your screen
Yep.
share?
I'm going to
Okay.
turn that off. Yep.
Okay, so here, let me try and, can you see?
Yeah.
Yep.
That's it.
Okay, let me just pull it down and then I'll try and rotate it so you don't have to turn your head. Okay. So this is JJ Cardosi's application for payment in the amount of $253,116.10.
Yeah, and you'll see in the lower left-hand corner, change order summary incorporates total approved this month. That was 1 minute ago. It's very up to date.
All right. I would just suggest again, from a process point of view, Robert, I know this is signed, and since we did not vote on that change order until right now, I don't want to get in a position where I think we have like 10 days to approve. I know there is a specified amount of time for us to approve once the architect has approved a pay application. I would only suggest that maybe if that becomes an issue, we chase the signatures after we have our meeting and approve change orders.
Okay, got it.
Would anybody like to make a motion to for this pay requisition?
Yep, I make a motion that we approve the payment of $253,116.10 to JJ Cardosi for work in the month of February.
Second,
It's been moved and seconded. Any further discussion? John Larkin,
aye.
Rich Nichols,
Aye.
Diane Germain,
Aye.
Wayne Clocko votes aye. Motion carries unanimously.
So the next invoice is for Welco Service in the amount of $640.
And what is this?
Looks like it's disconnecting a AC unit.
Yeah, sorry, I was on mute. This is, both these next two bills are to the elimination of the air conditioning system that was up on the pad out front of the DPW building. So he had to disconnect the electrical system, and the next bill will be for the emptying of the refrigeration unit.
Okay, this I would characterize, Jim, and is really, it's within your purview of work. I would consider this part of the demo, and I think I would call this phase 3, just from a budgeting and a cost accounting standpoint. So you and Kim and I can
Yeah, we
find a
did that.
proper.
We did that in the memo.
Oh,
There's
good.
a memo coming for that.
Oh, all right.
Yeah, it was here.
All right, good. All right, do I have a motion?
I make a motion that we approve an invoice for the amount of $640 to Walco Service Company for decommissioning of AC units.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Any further discussion? All right, John Larkin,
Aye.
Diane Germain,
Aye.
Rich Nichols,
Aye.
and Clarko votes aye. Motion carries unanimously. Next,
So the next one is for Heating Giant, which is what Jim was just talking about, for $225 to disconnect and recover Freon.
Okay, I make a motion that we approve the amount of $225 to Heating Giant for the recovery of Freon from the AC units.
Second.
been moved and seconded. Any further discussion? Diane Germain,
Aye.
Rich Nichols,
Aye.
John Larkin,
Aye.
Wayne Clarko votes aye. Motion carries unanimously.
So next is an invoice from GCG in the amount of $5,221.50. And that, I believe, is for actually for the Yankee engineering and testing.
All right, I make a motion that we approve the amount of $5,221.50 for GCG for building construction observation.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. I guess before we vote, I'd like to ask Jim, we should be getting to the tail end of Yankees scope of work here. Wouldn't you think?
Yes. I know that they just sent out, what, 3 more testing, and I think once the slab's down, yes.
Right. I think once we get the rest of our concrete placed and our soil compacted, we should stop seeing these. What do we have for a budget line item, Kim? Do you have that handy?
Which category was this?
What do we have for consulting or testing?
I have
Oh,
mine.
testing. Yeah. We had $25,000 and we've spent 17,568,
Including this or
including this, yes.
including this? All right. Well, let's keep we're getting to the budgeted amount. This is necessary cost. There's no way to not consider it, but let's just be mindful of the budget. All right, any other discussion? Rich Nichols,
Aye.
John Larkin,
Aye.
Diane Germain,
Aye.
Wayne Clarko votes aye. Motion carries unanimously.
And last but not least, we have Taylor and Burns for $10,245.39. And that's the detail of it.
That's for February.
Yes.
Okay.
I make a motion that we approve the amount of $10,245.39 for Taylor and Burns for the work done in February.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Any additional discussion? Diane Germain,
Aye.
Rich Nichols,
Aye.
John Larkin,
Aye.
Wayne Clocko votes aye. Motion carries unanimously. All right,
That's it.
all right. We have minutes that we will approve at the end of the meeting. Any other business that we need to discuss in relation to the DPW project?
I mean, I probably should have brought it up during the construction aspect of it, but I'm on PFAS load here. At the meeting of the Board of Health, they did pass and approve the three, I think we had three things in there. So we should be getting that letter. So that we're all set with the Board of Health also.
Good, good. Any conditions that we need to be mindful of or that would impact the cost or the schedule?
Nope.
Good. Good. And that was all per Beta's review and recommendation, I assume.
That's correct.
All right, very good. All right, well, another hurdle to have overcome. So I'm glad that's the case, and we'll proceed. All right. Anything else to talk about in relation to the DPW? In that case, then, I'll close that portion of the meeting. I'll bid Robert adieu. Jim and Dave, I think you're certainly welcome to stay if you like, or if not, have a pleasant evening.
Thank you. Thanks, everyone.
All right.
Thanks,
Have a good
everybody.
night.
Have a good evening.
Aye.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.
And now I would turn our attention to the Lansing Millis project, and I see Doug Manley and Joe Matrano from SSV. Welcome, gentlemen. Thanks for attending. The purpose of tonight's discussion is to ask the committee whether or not they have any questions over your most recent cost estimate and scope in relation to stabilizing the building. And I would like at the end of whatever the deliberation that includes, for the committee to make a vote to the in terms of a recommendation to the select board, either to do the work or not to do the work, depending on how the conversation goes. So at this point, I think you've all seen the cost estimate. There is a stabilization portion and there is a permanent fixed portion. And that also includes architectural design and supervision for that portion of the project. So that's a relatively all-in number, and I don't have that up on my screen. I'm not sure.
I do, Wayne, if you'd like me to share it.
Okay, Joe, if you could pull that up, that would be great.
You see it?
I do. There we go. Why don't you go to the headings at the top? Oh, all right. So is that, all right, that's the whole estimate there. It was compressed. I thought maybe we had cut off the top.
Yeah, I just took off the details, all of the unnecessary text at the top.
Okay, great. So any questions from the committee in terms of scope or cost? Because I would think that if we are going to act on executing this work, we're going to need to make some representations in order to put this out on the street and to get approval either from the voters or the select board or however it would be funded. And so I'd like to get some feedback from the committee in relation to that.
Can I ask one question, Wayne?
Sure, Rich.
So on those things, it says stabilization and permanent fix. So on the shingles, it had replaced roof with new shingles, stabilization as 62,730. And then it had selective patching of existing asphalt roof onto permanent fix as 5,000. So I'm confused on that. If we're gonna permanently fix it, wouldn't we be putting a new roof on?
Yeah, Joe, I think that may be a mistake on our part, that number.
So it should be the other way around.
Yeah, I'm thinking that
Yes.
the permanent fix would be, I think you had the headers backwards.
Yes, it should be the other way around. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Then it makes more sense.
Then it's going to change your numbers, so yes, but yeah. That's,
Yeah, that's fine. That's the confusion I had on that.
no, I can see why you're confused.
I'm easily confused.
I don't know about that.
So Joe has done a little extra work for us here. Following these pages, he's kind of highlighted for everyone just some of the photos of what we're talking about doing. So Joe, do you want to run through those quickly?
Yeah, absolutely. So I just took a photo of the facade here, and we've broken it out into 5 categories. The first of which being these railings at the front, the second of which being wood cornices and fascias and soffits throughout. The third being wood shingle siding, fourth being asphalt shingle roofing, and the fifth being all sheet metal elements, including flashing, gutters, and downspouts. So, Doug, who's doing this? You want to outline them?
Yeah, this is just a reminder of what kind of condition things are out there with the railings missing. I guess the railings could be considered ornamental and frosting on the building, but our feeling was if we're doing exterior carpentry along the roof edge, that it kind of made sense to put those pieces back. Show us the next, Joe. So the other thing, so Wayne told us you've had a few raccoons in the building, Wayne?
Last count was 13, Doug.
Wow. I can't imagine how they're getting there. But, so that's the point of this one, is that we want to do the carpentry repairs that tighten up the building to keep the keep the critters out, and then so basically looking at securing the building, stopping water infiltration of the building is what we're focusing on for roofing, cornices, and soffits. So this one we said is maybe the second phase work, doing the shingles. I mean, you can limp along with it a little further, but they are not in the greatest of condition.
Mm-hmm.
And then the more serious concern, we think, is the asphalt shingle roof itself. And then, as Joe mentioned, the pieces of sheet metal throughout the building that are flashing, keeping water out of the building. We would like to see those addressed in the first phase stabilization of the building.
That's all I got.
Okay, just a little reminder what's in the scope of items.
So let's go back then, Joe, because I'm a little confused. So of your 5 categories there, what's in this number? What numbers 1 through 5 is in this number, and what's not?
So I just drew all of these line items I identified in the photos here. So they're all being tackled, but keeping in mind that we have these 2 reversed, right? Those of those items that just involve, you know, a very baseline stabilization, are that patching the asphalt roof instead of replacing it, right? And Doug, what else are we talking about as far as a?
Okay, yeah, so in the first batch of things, basically the carpentry pieces to tighten up where you see all of those holes. And then the sheet metal flashings and gutters and downspouts is a key piece of that. And then, you know, we could, I guess we can flip flop those numbers wherever you see as a priority, whether we do a full replacement of the asphalt roof or try to patch it in for a low cost, quick fix at the moment.
Well, I guess the question that going back to your photos, I don't know if it was number 4, it's your shingles there, not the asphalt shingles, but the shakes.
Yeah.
Is there any work in this scope for addressing shakes?
No, that was one of the ones we put that in the further category, the extra piece. So that's in that second column to do the wood shingles. So we would not do any wood shingle work other than what's directly associated with flashing.
And would you flash the windows at this point, or normally you would do that?
You would do that with the shingles, yeah.
Yeah. All right.
If you look at the bottom left-hand picture,
Yeah.
On the side where I see the metal pieces, those
Yeah.
shingles look pretty rotten.
They're pretty bad, yes.
Are they leaking?
Looks like they're absorbing the water up from this roof here. It's just,
So I think what we could do on that is maybe if we approve some of the stabilization and had it where we could do a add alt for miscellaneous repairs. If they redid the shingles of the wood asphalt shingles, this flashing that goes up the sidewalls called step flashing, we could ask them to, you know, do some sort of patch in there on a T&M basis if in specific areas.
I do think it's also worth noting that in our conceptual designs, I think all of our conceptual designs, we call for the removal of this. So the, you know, any work to this vestibule here, this fire egress addition is going to be hinged on, you know, what is going to be done with it in the future.
Yeah.
But as far as emergency stabilization goes, the shingles are less of a priority, like Doug already said.
Right. But, Rich, I think you were getting to a point that I was trying to look at. Joe, if you could bring up the estimate again. At the bottom, although we may not have a particular line item for dealing with shingles, we've got a construction contingency of 20%, that $44,000 amount. I would think would address things like if in the course of replacing the roof, we found bad underlayment there, and I think that would, you know, we've got soffit damage. We know there is a area of soffit on the front of the building that is leaking pretty badly. It's not leaking into the building, but that's an area that will require more attention. And I would expect that there's going to be areas like that in other parts of the building where we'll have to do some additional work. I think having that $44,000 amount in there for as a contingency for that work would be prudent, because again, you know, if we're going to make a permanent fix on top of it, we've got to fix it right when we go to do the work.
So Wayne, I just want to point out one other thing. I think I misspoke. I think we were looking at doing half the shingles in the base stabilization and then doing the second half of the shingles. That's why you see the 10,770 in both columns. So
And
we
we
were
did have a
thinking-
reason for that, Doug. I remember our discussion was, it's hinged on the removal of that rear addition, right?
Yeah. That's right. Yeah.
So we would be doing that front first, that front gable end first, and then the rear would follow.
So could I just run through, so since the headers are backwards, so
Mm-hmm.
what we're gonna say, say we just get them right now, we get stabilization passed. We're gonna have $15,000 for staging and disposal. We're gonna have $10,000 to replace wood shingle siding, $10,770. We're gonna have $5,000 for selective patching of existing asphalt roof. And that gets us to the grand total with the contingency to $64,479. So that's just basically stabilizing it, so it doesn't deteriorate more.
No,
Then-
sorry to interrupt, but no, the stabilization, the headers are correct. It's just that selective patching of the asphalt roof should be in the right-hand column. The full permanent fix, all replacement, the 62,000 should be over in the right-hand column.
I'm gonna pull up the Excel spreadsheet itself, Doug,
Okay,
and
Yeah.
I will make the modification, and I'll put it on the screen.
okay, then it'll do the math for us. Yep.
Jim McCaffrey, would you feel like commenting on this?
No,
Okay,
yes, well, I'd like to see what the numbers are, but because I'm totally confused.
Yeah, we'll fix that in front of us here.
I'll say, let me ask a question, which is to say, all right, as of today, as of today's plan, I'm not talking about PBC, but in terms of the development of the warrant for the Maytown meeting, there is $0 for the Lansing Millis building. So if that is the case, then the earliest possible date to provide funding for whatever we're going to do is not until November. So a question I have really is, what happens to this building if we don't do anything until, I'll just say, November 15th?
Well, I mean, I can answer that. I mean, it's just, right now, it's slowly deteriorating. The water's getting in, it's slowly rotting. It's just gonna continue to deteriorate. It's not gonna fall down overnight. It's just,
Right.
Slowly so it's 6 more months of, getting wet and a little bit of rotting and critters possibly getting in if we don't chase them out. Like I said, it's not a catastrophic thing, but the sooner we do something to it, the better.
But if the something is $325,000, it's a little
Not a
different
chance.
than my heart skipped a beat when I thought it was 64 just to keep it whole, only to be quickly corrected that it's 300 and whatever it is to keep it whole.
Well, typically with buildings, the thing that's the most important, the flashings are important, but typically one of the most important things is the roof. So if you keep the water out, if you look at the Ellis School, they put a roof on that thing, and even though they haven't done anything to it, it's still there, because if you keep the water off it, it's not gonna, fall down. It may not look good, and there still is damage, but the bulk of it is the roof.
Rich, we could do something to the roof and patch up those holes. Keep the critters out.
Yeah, I mean, that would be the minimum. I'd refer back to them if we did, my mind, the stabilization is, if we did some patching, whatever patching you do when you do the permanent, it's money that you spent that you're gonna throw away. If you patch it up, you do keep the water out. When you do the roof, say you did $5,000 of repairs, that money basically you're throwing out, unfortunately. But it does keep the building from getting worse. I
Yeah.
think the thing is, like Jim said, I think the appetite for, spending large amounts on this might be tough.
Agree.
Well, it certainly would be tough in May.
Joe, you have the changes made now?
Yes, are they on the screen? Is it on the screen?
Yes, yeah.
Okay.
So scroll us to the bottom and you see our new
So
numbers.
my numbers in that other one were, there must have been a messed up formula. So I checked all the formulas in here. This is what we're looking at.
Most of the numbers were right, but just the bottom line numbers were.
Yeah, it was something strange going on with it, but this is all set.
We're looking at a temporary fix of roughly $60,000.
Yeah. No. The
Oh,
temporary fix is 345,000. And the difference is that we're putting the more siding and doing the full roof for another 60,000. Joe, that can't be right either.
So it's another 60,000, right? That's what needs to be emphasized.
No, but the roof itself is 62, so your number can't be right at the bottom.
I guess in my mind, the question that I have is, what's the minimum we can do to keep the building whole, tread water, whatever you want to call it? That doesn't make it necessarily something that townspeople won't agree to.
I agree.
Wayne, the only thing that I could say is, basically, the town is basically between a rock and a hard place. There is no appetite, as Rich said, for spending a lot of money on this. And from past experience, this type of project, once you get into it, you're opening a can of worms. Nothing is as simple as it first appears. And one thing leads to another, and the next thing, you're quickly over budget. The $40,000 or $40,000 contingency fee will be eaten up in minutes.
I don't disagree at all, John. We've got a bad echo here.
Yeah, I get it once in a while.
I'm just wondering if somebody's got two devices open at the same time. So again, Joe, help me with the numbers here.
Okay.
So now that the number has changed,
Yeah, it's changed and the formulas are all set in this Excel spreadsheet now. So for the permanent fix, we're looking at an additional 123.6 thousand as compared to, and that's a notable change from what we were looking at before.
And what you're adding is the asphalt shingle roof and the other, completing all of the wood shingle siding.
Exactly. So the other half of the wood shingle siding and the entire roof.
Yeah.
but that would, but that only is, again, only dealing with a part of the exterior. It's not doing anything with any of the windows or doors or
That's right.
nothing really in relation to the foundation repairs that are necessary. And then we still have all of the, well, what I would consider to be tenant improvements. There's no building heat. There's really there's not even any code in here in terms of energy, life safety, ADA. There's none of that. So this is, so I guess the question that I have is, and Joe, maybe scroll down to the bottom again. Is it worth spending, to me, based on the discussion that we're having here. If we're going to spend anything at all, your recommendation is we spend $345,000. Is that so far so good?
As a minimum, yeah.
Okay, then I guess the question is, what is your recommendation as to whether or not we really should spend $345,000? How much of that are we going to be throwing away if we don't spend the additional $123,000 to make permanent repairs? And that was, I think, what we asked you to do, is give us a scope that for work that if we're going to stabilize the building, we don't have to do the work twice.
Yeah.
So that, so
So,
that's my question to you.
so if you do the first phase stabilization, you won't be doing any of that work twice. What we're doing is additive. Well, okay, you've got a 6,000 of patching on the roof. That yes, you would tear that up and do a full replacement of roof for 62,000. So that's probably the only area where you're going to do work and undo work, I think, under this plan.
So what you're saying is the only area where we would be arguably redoing it is that $6,000.
That's right.
All right. And the minimum then is $345,000.
And I think, at this point, you're buying a little more time with just patching, but you're kind of postponing the inevitable.
Right. Well, I'm far less concerned with $6,000 when we still have major questions to deal with from a town standpoint as to what we do with the building. How do we ultimately decide to use it? That has not been fully vetted. That's no closer to having a one particular solution. So I guess the question, if I were asked to vote on this, is, well, why am I spending additional funding at this point when we really haven't dealt with those fundamental ultimate questions as to what to do with the building? And so that the question for us really is stabilization, and what does that cost? And as I see here, we still have in that, to John Larkin's point, in that $345,000, we still have a design and construction contingency and arguably we might not, if we wanted to do just the minimum, I'm not sure how much additional we would even spend to that.
Right. That is true.
So what's the committee's feeling about it?
I don't think that if we proposed 345,000 to patch it up and make it a little better looking, I don't think the town will buy it.
I don't disagree with that, but I don't think that's the charge of this committee.
I also don't think we know how we're going to use it. And the two, for me, are like, no way.
I'm sorry, I didn't hear the last part, Diane.
I don't know how we're going to use the building. You've already referred to it, and I agree. You can't go ask for money and then say, well, we're not sure what we're going to do with it.
Well, so to boil it down in my way of thinking, it's, do we do nothing, or do we ask the town to spend $345,000?
If there were a middle position that were lower, that would do what I asked originally, which is patch up the holes and make it vaguely watertight, that might be palatable. But at 345,000, I don't think so. Just my opinion.
John, what's your thought?
I guess given the choice between those two things, Wayne, I would say do nothing at this point. I think, and I honestly don't know the answer of who to go to other than the select board. But, and I assume it would be them, and I think the select board has to make some sort of a decision. To follow up on Diane's point, they have to make some sort of a decision of what they want to do with this building. Do they want to sell it? Do they want to bring in a developer, a contractor? Do they want to fix it up and rent it out as a commercial space? We've been through all that sort of stuff. But somebody has to make a decision of what you want to do with the building.
Frankly, I see it a little bit different than that, John. I think it's the role of the Permanent Building Committee to just look at what's best for the building. And I think the select board looks to us to make that professional evaluation and make the recommendation to the town. What they decide to do with it may very well be just what you asked, but I don't think that's our decision to make. So we've hired experts in the field. That's what Doug and Joe are retained to do. And the question is really, as I see it, do we agree that that is a necessary cost in order to preserve the building? And at the same time, do we need to do that now? Or is that a decision that can be made in the future? And so I think the committee needs to make a decision on that as well. And I guess in my mind, if we're just looking at the $345,000, if we don't do anything until November, does that number creep? Will that go up? And if it is it nominal or is it exponential? Doug, do you have any opinion on that?
Well, I think it's going to go up, definitely going to go up some. If we can get the raccoons out of there and keep water from pouring into the building, maybe there's a cheaper patch that you put on at this point, but yeah, I don't think it's exponentially getting worse, but definitely getting worse.
Okay.
I also think, Wayne, that if we hold this until November and we go in and even if it gets approved in November, I don't know how much work we're going to get done till the following spring.
Well, I don't know. By the time it gets approved and we get a design and put it out to bid, get it out on the street, you're right. We would be
A year from now.
in winter. We could very well be looking at a year from now. And I don't know if that leads you in a direction of wanting to do something now, because that's the most likely, or I'm not even sure if we were to try to do something now, if that's a possibility, according to Jim McCaffrey's comments. So we're looking at decisions today that won't be implemented for months, if not a year out. Rich?
Well, one of the things you said is the best thing for the building. And I'm thinking of the building more as having something that we could get past. And what they're presented is, yeah, it's a great fix. They covered the scope. what I would be hesitant to do is, what I'm nervous about is, we say, yes, let's go ahead and spend $345,000. It gets bounced, it dies, and then it's hard to bring back up again. And, without a purpose for the building, I would be concerned, if we had at least some direction on that, I would say that, and like I said, this is looking at the building as a whole, including the politics of getting the money passed. I would be hesitant to put, hey, we want to fix up this building, but we don't quite know what we want to do with it. And it's going to cost $350,000. I would say if we delayed it, although there will be deterioration, maybe if there's some thought of what would happen to the building, then we'd at least have, some impetus behind it to, get it passed. Hey, we know what we're going to do with it, and we're going to spend this money, and then we're going towards a goal. Right now, I don't know if we necessarily have a goal other than to, stabilize it. But once we stabilize it, what are we doing with it?
Okay.
Wayne,
So-
could I just comment, because I think folks would generally agree that the best outcome for the community was that the Lansing Millis building survives and thrives. I think you get that much consensus. Where we quickly run into challenges if we were to go to the community and say, look, we actually have a developer here who would like to buy this building or, rent it for 99 years and agrees to preserve the historic facade. Would the community go along with that? I think the answer is yes. Because it's hard. But on the other hand, if we want to maintain it as a municipal property, I don't think there's a lot of appetite at this point in time for us to rehab this building and become the landlord for a rental property. I don't think that is something that the community would support unless the numbers were compelling. So, and maybe I'm wrong. I mean, maybe others feel as though that it's not the case. I don't think people want to just see this thing fall apart. But I'm not convinced that they want to spend, this $350,000 is just step one. They want to spend this kind of money to maintain, I will call it, control of this building, either through owning it and leasing it or whatever. And I could be wrong there, but I think that's probably a debate worth having.
Well, then I think as I see the purpose of this committee then is to develop the cost to at least begin the discussions about those options. And so we have a number, $345,000 as a minimal stabilization cost. In some scenario, we don't necessarily have to spend that today, but that's likely to be an initial cost. And then we have the other cost, Doug and Joe, that you put together for the various occupancy options, which are roughly in the $2 million range.
Yes.
Is my recollection correct on that?
Yes, yeah.
All right. So, Jim, my feeling is then the permanent building committee's work here is done. We've identified these costs. The town doesn't necessarily have to spend anything on the building. It will continue to exist as it does. There may be some expense that the town will have to consider to keep the rodents out and deal with emergency maintenance until something more definitive happens to it. But we really don't need to do anything at this point until those larger questions have been decided. But when that happens, we have these numbers that give us some idea of at least orders of magnitude of costs that would be likely be incurred.
Well, I mean, I think that's probably where you land, although I would ask the committee whether they would, add some urgency to finding, a message of urgency. Now, anybody who drives by the building can understand that the thing is not going to stand up forever. But what we have seen here with a thorough and complete review of the building is critical systems that are, it's just going to snowball. And but I don't want to leave it. I don't want this to be another Alice school, I guess that came up earlier. That thing's been sitting there for 100 years, and we put a new roof on it, and it's sitting there for another 100 years. This is a little different because it's right in the center of town.
Wayne, could we make a memo to say that, we have identified the cost, like you said, and that, we would suggest that these improvements be looked at in the, near future to maintain the building. At least we could send something out. Like I said, I think that the time that has been spent on this is great. We've identified it. There's numbers out there. People can digest them. And maybe if, as the building committee, we say, this is something that is of some urgency, and to the select board or the town or whatever, we should look at trying to figure out what we're going to do with this building.
Rich, I think that's kind of where we are. Since our last discussion, I had further brief conversation with Dan Merrickin. I asked him whether or not, based on our last meeting, Ellen Rosenfeld, or I think it was at the select board meeting. I interpreted some of her comments as indicating that maybe she was not interested in any kind of private development, and Dan said no, she'd like to be involved in some fashion. I'm not sure what that is, and so maybe we continue with those conversations. And again, I guess the question is, who's the we? Is it the permanent building committee? Is it some other group in town? And have this information as part of the overall deliberation as to what to do with the building.
Well, I personally, I think that the work done, again, I agree, it's excellent work, and there's nothing going to be presented more thoroughly or more attractively than the report that we have. And so I think it's gonna have to come back to the select board to say, all right, what we want to do is, like I said, we want to preserve, we want to choose one or two options, and eventually, if you're going to want to preserve and you don't have a real proposal from anybody, whether it's private or public, whatever, we're going to have to spend $350,000 to preserve our asset. Otherwise, it's going to just go down the drain, and that would not be good. But I'm not, you all know what the environment is right now, and we have hopefully some potential over the next couple of years to see our revenue grow because of the development coming online. But it's still, a vision. And I think May town meeting certainly would be a very difficult time to go forward with something of this scope. So I'm perfectly comfortable with the PBC saying, look, we've done everything, and we really put it back on you, select board, to do something here. Come up with a direction. And, I think that's probably a reasonable place to go. And then there's input from you folks. There's input from the historical commission. One thing I'd like to, if possible, if you feel comfortable with it as a PBC, can you just reinforce the fact that that is not a good place for a senior Senior center keeps popping up everywhere I turn, last week if somebody said we should buy Rossi's and make it the senior center. I mean, there's a lot of, I'm not asking you to do anything you're not comfortable with.
There is no hesitancy here. There's that's an issue that requires no effort on our part to dismiss. The senior center that we're talking about for the needs of the town, and again, I'm just going from memory here, is about 14,000 square feet. This
Right.
building is about 2,500. It's not possible to put a senior center. I think we have close to 8,000 or 9,000 square feet in the VMB today of usable space, not including corridors and dead spaces. And there's no way to expand the footprint here. You'd essentially be creating new construction to add on to a building that, as John Larkin said, you open it up and it's a can of worms.
Right.
The piece of property doesn't support that, and nor does the parking or any of the other reasons. I mean, we could go on and on, but that's an easy answer. The answer is absolutely not. This is not an option. And I'm happy to do that, Jim, in whatever fashion. If you think that's appropriate, we can certainly do that. But again, I think we've kind of teed it up for the select board to consider what they'd like to do with it.
Yep.
So I guess the question, not to beat a dead horse here, I would ask the committee whether or not they've got other feelings about it. I would ask Doug and Joe to revise their latest submission to reflect these numbers and just send us something, update what you previously
Yeah.
sent us with this. If you would please do that, that'd be great.
Yes.
And we'll see where we're at.
Sounds good to me. Yeah, we can make those edits. We can,
Okay.
I think also the pages with the pictures of the spots that need attention right away would be helpful too. Do we already have those?
Okay, yes, we can send that along.
we can
Okay.
definitely send that.
It,
They are more thoroughly outlined in the report, but we can send the slides.
Right.
This is a good condensed version, Joe, that points out the very worst pieces.
right. I think, Doug, that goes really to the scope and the immediacy of
Yes.
dealing with, the temporary or the imminent repair amount. So that would be helpful in deliberating.
Yeah, we can do that.
Okay. So I don't know that the committee needs to do anything then, Jim. It sounds like we've identified the scope and cost for dealing with the building.
Yep.
And it's up to the select board to decide what to do with it.
I think that's reasonable, or at least to decide a direction here. So, okay, I'm comfortable with that.
And
And,
then we would await your further direction.
That's perfectly reasonable.
Okay. All right. Well, in that case, is there anything else for us to consider? Hearing none, then Joe and Doug, thank you very much. This has been very helpful. It was a little more involved than I expected when we started, and I'm glad we were able to clean up the cost and identify what was all included. So thank you for that.
Sure.
If you would send us that updated schedule and those photos in a really, not a formal report, but just a document that we can refer to. That would be very helpful to us.
Be glad to do that, Wayne.
And we will stay in touch with what our
Okay.
next steps are.
Okay, well, we don't like to see our reports be a book on the shelf somewhere. We certainly hope that something's going forward to save this building. It's a great building.
It's and we agree. And if it's a report on a shelf, it'll be percolating like it's not going to go away. It'll be like one of those books in the Harry Potter movies that's alive and it'll be moving around.
Well, that's what we like to hear. So we really want to see something done with this building. It's like Doug said, it's truly a landmark.
Good. So we agree, and we appreciate your expert opinion about it as well. So thank you.
Good.
Thank you for your work.
All right. So
Thanks.
we'll bid you adieu, and I think we just need some minutes to approve, Kim. And
Yep, we have minutes from February 16th to approve.
okay,
Good night,
thanks,
everyone.
Joe. Thanks, Doug.
Thank you.
Bye.
So what are the minutes, Kim?
From February 16th.
I make a motion that we approve the minutes of the February 16th Permanent Building Committee meeting as submitted.
Second. Beat you.
Moved and seconded. Any discussion? All in favor? Or
Aye.
Rich? Aye.
Aye.
John Larkin?
I,
Diane?
Aye.
And Wayne Clocko votes aye. Motion carries unanimously. All
So
right.
Wayne,
So Jim,
I don't want to speculate, but I mean, this isn't going to be a controversial issue over time. Now, does anybody running for office sort of avoid this meeting so they don't have to go on public record? No, I didn't say that.
He had personal commitments to deal with tonight.
I'm sure he did. Talk about an interesting campaign issue.
Well, sure, but Jim, my feeling is, and it's a view I've developed over 25 years here. These issues don't ever go away. They just get deferred. I don't care if we're talking about the old library or the police and fire station or the Clyde Brown School. They don't ever go away. They just get deferred.
Well, this certainly was discussed in 1993. When we decided what we were going to do was rehab. Well, we were working on rehabbing the memorial building, VMB. And then what were we going to do with what we had as the town hall, which we couldn't use anymore because it wasn't handicap accessible. So you're right. Here we are. 20 years later, or is it 30? I can't keep track.
Well,
this is a real hand wringer. We all know that. I mean, we hate to see this building deteriorate.
We're not going to let it happen. I don't think anybody here believes that that's actually would happen. And I think Rich really hit on it earlier. Is in some ways this is the Ellis School. Unless you have a purpose for it, do you put a new roof on it just so that you preserve it for some future use, just to keep your options open? It would be nice if we had a use right now. I mean, it would make the discussion a whole lot easier. But to me, I think the discussion or the question that we were on the verge of making with spending $345,000 was very similar to the Ellis School. Do you spend some money on it and just let it sit there?
Yeah.
So could we have a work party and let people just climb up there and, I'm kidding. I could see Jim McCaffrey going.
Diane?
Wayne, I might say I disappeared for a little while. My computer blew up, I think. But I get back on just now. And I know I'm probably showing my age, but what Diane just said, in the old days, that's what would happen. We'd get 10 or 15 of the local contractors and everyone would get together for a Saturday and a Sunday, 2 weeks in a row or something, and fix the place up, and that would be the end of the story. I know those days are gone. And I guess I probably don't understand the process here of what our mission is versus the select board's mission, and who makes the decision. Are we in a position to say, let's call in a couple of local developers who I know have kind of spoken to you already, I think, and present some sort of a plan in that way to the select board?
Well,
Question.
John, you know, I keep asking that kind of question. We have the select board, we have the Economic Development Committee, we got the Historical Commission, we got a number of different parties that could or should be involved. And I guess the question is, and Jim, my feeling is, you know, just focusing on the Economic Development Group, I'd be marketing the hell out of this building. I would not be passively sitting around saying, you know, let's see who walks in the door and wants a place to set up a donut shop or an office building. I'd be, I think the prior select person who made such a big deal about having economic development in the town ought to be actively involved in pursuing options and finding you know, real alternatives. And so I don't know if that's us. I don't know if that's somebody else. And, you know, that doesn't fit in a nice, neat bucket here. So I guess I'm looking for some direction if that's the way the town wants to proceed.
Well, I guess that, you know, I can't speak for the board, but I do think, and maybe we're all heading in this direct, some kind of group of people getting together to say, okay, yeah, we want to save this building. We know now that for us as a community to invest in it, to get it to a place where somebody can move into it, is going to cost a lot of money. So is there some other approach that we preserve the building, its historic nature, et cetera, et cetera? And, you know, maybe you're right. Maybe it's an outreach to some local folks who are willing to get in there. I mean, what John's talking about is what happened with Niagara Hall, right? A group of people here over a period of time fixed that building up so that it's in good shape. But it's still just sitting there. So it's a cost. And we've had some ideas about, you know, trying to use it.
Wait, a senior center.
Senior centers growing up everywhere.
I know.
Anyway,
Thinking maybe a lawyer's office, you know, maybe like a semi-retired lawyer that, you know, wanted to
right.
have really nice digs.
yeah, right.
Somebody with the initials JM, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, it's JT, Jay Tallerman.
Oh, maybe they want to move in.
Well, I asked him. He said, well, I don't know. Let's see.
But frankly, I think it's worth having direct or more in-depth conversations with Ellen. I'm not sure what her level of interest is and, you know, what her approach might be. And so I think those discussions should happen with somebody.
Yeah, I agree.
And again, if you want us to be involved, we'll be happy to do so.
Well, I'll get back to you. No, seriously. I mean, the table, you've set the table. Now it's up for us to say, yep, we want to keep it going. Yes, just pure, you know, going for an override isn't going to be the way to go. So, you know, what are our other options? And not just keep going around and around and around and around. But we do have a firm idea about what it would cost, you know, to have this building in a situation where a tenant, whether it's a municipal tenant or somebody else, could move into it and, you know, operate either a business or an office or whatever. So
as we leave this meeting tonight, do you want something to present to at a future select board meeting as to what the results of this committee are? Are you going to report back to them? Is there a thought of setting up some kind of a group? Is there a proposal to consider, have the select board consider? What is your thought about a next step then?
Well, I think the next step, right, is for the board to say, well, we've gotten this information. I mean, you already presented it to us, but perhaps another presentation, which is where we left it was, right, at the board meeting the last time was, it's going to be whatever it was, $2 million to fix this. So now the PBC has gone back and said, okay, that's a lot. What do we think would be required to maintain the building so that we'd have more time to stabilize the building, so we'd have more time to decide what the best use of it is? And that's what you have now. And I'm not sure we spent, and you know, if the, it's almost like you start with the pictures. Say, this is where the problems are, folks. You know, here's the gutters, the holes in the wall, the whatever. Not that we're going to ignore the amount, but it's a substantial amount, which, you know, could easily cost somebody $300,000 or $400,000 to fix just there. So given that, and we know what we need to do, what are our options, folks? And perhaps working on it a little bit over a period of months, you find that there is enough appetite by by November or next May to say, well, we're going to invest it. The community is going to invest it. But we will have explored the other options a little bit more fully, whether it's a developer with Ellen or, you know, even like you say, I mean, from economic development point of view, you know, are there commercial brokers out there who might be interested in talking about this building at this point in time? And the current owner, I mean, I had a conversation with a young man who used to live here, who's now running for select board or whatever they call it in Hopedale. You think we have a problem? They've got a, whatever it is, 100,000 square foot old mill right in the middle of town. They don't know what to do. So they're going through the same kind of thing. So I think it's right for the PBC to say, look, we've given you your options. We've given you stabilization option. We need, the community led by the select board needs to come up with a plan. And I don't mean a construction plan, but a plan for utilizing this building. And, you know, then leave it to the board to say, okay, what we ought to do, like you say, is have this group or some folks in this group, historical, sit around the table and say, and the outside potential outside partner or buyer to come up with some solutions here. I mean, well, let me ask you just a question for this group, and not that you're going to vote on it, but let's assume somebody wanted to buy this thing and agreed to keep it as a historic building and move into it. Is that something that the community would find appealing?
I think we've talked about that in the past.
Yeah.
And I think the overall feeling, and please chime in if you feel differently, is that the value to the town is to at least preserve it so that we can have it as something that we want to have and look at from the outside. I don't know that we necessarily want to have the ability to use it and have it on the inside, because we have all of these other properties in town that are just not being utilized. You know, if you look at Oak Grove Farm, the historical commission there, the majority of that space is sitting there idle for 99% of the time.
Right.
And Niagara Hall, essentially the same. And so if there was a municipal use, if there was a need to get in the building, we would have done it. I don't think we would be having this conversation. So I think the value to the town is to be able to preserve the building.
Wayne, do you remember what year it was built? I remember reading it, but I don't.
It's there's a marker, 1863 or something like that. It's
Okay, so it is historical. We could get the historical people. I never remember if it's commission or whatever. To talk with them a little bit. I'd be willing to do that.
I think Charlie Vecchi was involved in this evaluation, Diane. If you look at the acknowledgement in the front of their formal report, they reference talking to the historical commission.
I don't know that he's still part of that, is he?
I think he is in an advisory
Yeah,
capacity.
perhaps, yeah.
But I don't think we want to make this a historical National Register type building, because then the cost of preserving it and restoring it, I think would skyrocket. I don't think we'd have an option of necessarily doing substitute materials, Rich, like, I think all of us are thinking about.
I was just thinking of it from a perspective of keeping the building from deteriorating any further.
I think the thing is getting money from, Craig does that, and that's part of his with the trustees. I think, getting money is hard, even in historical. I mean, he's, they're dealing with like the Gore estate and, big name
Yes,
things.
right.
So, I mean, I would say, we'd be lucky to get minimal dollars to fix anything anyhow on it.
I think all of that money's pretty much dried up for the time being. Because I've done some grant work for the libraries or the library, and we're just not having any luck.
Well, I think the person in town that's best suited to apply for those kinds of things is Bob Weiss. And again, I think he's got some kind of role in this discussion. I don't know if he's got the ability to search for some funds and make some applications or not.
Well, we could always see if we can get an earmark for $345,000 from the legislature.
No problem with that.
Well, they've asked us for some ideas, so I'm not sure that was what they had in mind.
Well, I think maybe Linsky needs to have a Millis office.
That's correct.
Yeah.
Well,
And
Linsky
Dooley.
can be in one room and Sean can be in the other room.
There you go. All right.
Obviously, this is a hard question, which is why we're trying to figure it out. Well, I'm certainly going to go back to the board and say that, it's time for the board to put some effort in here to try and find a direction. Because we know what it's going to cost. Again, within an order of magnitude.
Right.
Maintain this building.
Yeah.
And make it useful again. So.
Right. Okay. All right. Anything else we need to do tonight in that regard? Okay.
Nope. Motion to
Hearing-
adjourn.
Hearing.
Just your next meeting date?
Yes. Kim, she always reminds us. Thank you, Kim.
So difficult when we're not all in the same room. It's so difficult. Or on the same screen.
So let's see here. I want to look at my calendar. So April, I think so now we're just dealing with the DPW. So I think their pencil rec is due on the 1st of the month. So it would seem to me that our next meeting, if we're going to do it on a Tuesday, would be the 13th or the 20th.
Rich,
Of
can you
April?
do it? Yeah, can you do either of those?
Yeah. 13th.
13th is good for you?
Yep, 6th we have planning board, 13th is fine.
Good.
All right, so let's book the 13th, Kim. I'll make sure we talk about that date at our construction meeting Thursday morning, so that they have their pencil rec in and reviewed and ready to go for us, so we can vote on it by the 13th.
Okay.
Okay. All right. Well, then I guess my question is, do I have a motion to adjourn?
Diane, you were anxious
Motion to
earlier.
adjourn.
Second.
I make a motion, yeah, yeah.
Thank you, everyone. Have a pleasant evening.
All right.
Bye.
you.
Good night.
Good night.
Good night.